All right, welcome everyone. I'm so excited that you're here today. It's August 18th and we are here to talk about the Local Food Farms and Jobs Act. I'm Sarah Lane. I work at the Arkansas Department of Agriculture and I help lead this program as well as a bunch of others that are on the line that I'm excited to introduce in just a moment. For those who have just joined, can you please make sure that your audio is muted so we don't have any background noise? We really appreciate that. So to get us started, this is what we have for our agenda today. We're going to first go over who are all the partners that help manage the Local Food Farms and Jobs Act. We're going to give some background into what has happened since this bill passed, an overview of how you can find information and how we can support you, and then we'll transition into the 2020 annual report, and we'll save a lot of time for question and answer. We really want this to be a session to hear from all of you of how, what questions are coming up in the field as you're filling out this report or trying to decide if your agency fits the requirements. So I will speak for about 20 minutes or so, and then the remaining 40 or so we will have open for questions and answers. Feel free to be adding questions into the chat box as we're going through the session. We're going to save those questions until we're done with the presentation, and then we will read them off and do our best to answer them or get back to you in the future. All right, so to start us off, the Local Food Farms and Jobs Act has a lot of people who are working very hard to manage everything that this bill encompasses. It is primarily through the Arkansas Department of Agriculture. That is the agency that is listed in the bill. And so you see Cynthia Edwards, who's the Deputy Secretary of the Department of Agriculture, helps manage and support this program. So do I, as the Farm to School and Early Childhood Education Program Coordinator. We also have Karen Reynolds, who's the Agriculture Program Manager, who manages the Arkansas Grown, Arkansas Made, and Homegrown by Heroes program. And also Mark Nelson, who is our Farm to School Innovation Lead, AmeriCorps Vista member. We are so thankful for our partners over at UAMS Community Health and Research. On the line, Emily English is here, who is a program director. We also have had extensive help from Chris Long, Ralph, and Mary, who are also so crucial into this partnership. So to give us some background of what even is the Local Food Farms and Jobs Act, it was a bill in 2017 that was created to strengthen and expand local farm and food economies throughout the state. Representative Beck is one of the main representatives who created this bill, and it required all state entities, so just really our state agencies at this time who received more than $25,000 annually from the state, to set a goal of purchasing or procuring 20% of their food budget on local farm and food products. At this time in 2017 and 2018, the Bureau of Legislative Research, they were the group that was creating the annual report for the governor and legislators. However, in 2019, the bill was amended and many changes came out from that. The first piece being that this now transferred the reporting and data collection piece from the Bureau of Legislative Research to the Arkansas Department of Agriculture. It also expanded what the definition of an agency is, which we'll be getting into a little bit later. It also increased the goal from 20% to at least 20% of the food budget. And it also tasked our department to work with distributors to ensure that our products, that local Arkansas products are available, help create a list of products, and make those available to all of our agencies. So to kind of narrow in on what the overview of the Local Food Farms and Jobs Act is that it was enacted in 2017 and then amended in 2019 with the goal of strengthening and expanding local farm and food economies throughout the state. And the Local Food Act asks agencies to set a goal of at least 20% of the agency's purchases on food products to be spent on local food, and it also required agencies to provide information on their local food procurement budget. I had mentioned just recently that it expanded the definition of agency in 2019. So you can see here that agency is not just strictly state agencies. Agency means a variety of different places. The first being institutes of higher education. So that would be colleges and universities. An agency can also be any childcare facility. So that would be all of our K through 12 schools, early childhood education centers, juvenile detention centers, youth residential treatment facilities, and others. We also have state parks, after-school programs, and then our state agencies or other entities of the state. Local food also, the definition of that would be any food products that are grown in Arkansas and or packaged and processed in Arkansas. Both of those count towards that at least 20% spent on local food. So this year, we have a great website landing page that has all of this information on it plus more. You can see the overview definition of the Local Food Farms and Jobs Act. You can find the specific bill that was amended in that first link on our website. And the Local Food Farms and Jobs Act page can be found when you go to the Arkansas Department of Agriculture. You scroll down to programs on the first page, and it will be the second program listed, and it's titled the Local Food Farms and Jobs Act. So it has the general definition, explains what an agency and local food is. It also then has the 2020 report where you can find the link to get into the local food report. We are reminding you too here on the website that responses must be submitted before the end of October 1st. At that point, we will then, as the department, as well as with UAMS, we will work to compile all of that information and submit it to the governor and the Arkansas General Assembly, as well as make it available to the public. Any agencies that we have reached out to that do not complete the initial 2 screening questions will be reported as did not respond, as we're going through to gather all of this information. You'll also find here, which we sent out in the email to many of you, the local food vendor spreadsheet. This is a great spot where you can download it and start adding in your local food vendor information. You can also find this in the survey, the reporting link as well. You all made it to the webinar, so you got all that information. That's where we're at right now. And if there are any other questions that you have, you can always reach out to lffjahelp@arkansas.gov. I will go into the eligibility infographic, the report FAQ, as well as the 2019 annual report. So we first created this eligibility infographic to help agencies figure out if they meet the requirements to complete the entire full report. So you can see from the graphic on the right, the first question that an agency needs to ask is if they receive at least $25,000 annually from the state. If that is an automatic yes, then the next question is, does your agency offer a food service program? If that is also automatically a yes, then you are required to answer the screening questions, which are the first 2 parts of the report, as well as the full local food procurement report piece. However, if you answer not sure or no to any of those questions, we hope that this infographic helps give a little bit more clarity as to where you fall and how much information and how much reporting you need to do. So for example, if you're not sure if your agency receives $25,000 from the state, we ask you to think about the funding that you receive from the state for any staff positions, any programming or operations or services that you provide. And then at that point, you move down the flow chart to the food service program question and then fully to the bottom. Regardless of if you answer yes or no to any of these questions, you are required to answer the first 2 parts of the report, which are called the screening questions. That helps you not be listed as did not respond on the report that we will create at the end of December. You also see that the survey opened at the beginning of August, and it will close on October 1st. So that is the eligibility infographic. We also now have the report FAQ document where you can find many definitions and questions that you might be having as you're trying to go through the report. So you can see in the image on the left some of the definitions of agency, food product, and food budget. There are additional pages of questions, and I pulled a few as examples, such as, what do you mean by $25,000 from the state? as well as what information do I need to have prepared in order to complete the report. So you will find this document on our website. It's about 3 to 4 pages long, and we will continue to add questions that we receive into this FAQ document. Additionally, any questions that we receive today that we do not have the immediate answer to, we will get back to you all, and we'll make sure to update the FAQ document so that that is the most correct of information. We then have our 2019 annual report. So last year was the first time that the Department of Agriculture did create the Local Food Farms and Jobs Act annual report, because this was the year that the amendment had happened. So for 2019, we had received contact lists from the Department of Finance and Administration, the Department of Education, and the Department of Human Services of all agencies that we deemed possible agencies that would meet the requirements of the $25,000 and the food service program. We worked with UAMS to create an online survey, and we distributed that through an online platform called RedCap. We had released the survey on September 13th, 2019, and we closed it on October 15th. And then on December 31st, we submitted the first annual report from the Arkansas Department of Agriculture, which you can see in the image here. And I'm going to go into just a couple facts that we realized from this as it then pertains to the 2020 annual report. So last year, we had reached out to around 2,000 eligible 2,000 recipients, excuse me, and we had about a 22.9% response rate. We had about 76% who did not respond, and so they were listed then on the did not respond page. And the eligibility criteria is the same last year as it is this year, that an agency receives at least $25,000 annually from the state and offers a food service program. You can see though that out of the 22%, almost 23% that completed the survey, only 14%, only 9%, about 8.9% were ones that actually met this criteria. The rest of those said that they did not meet that and they were finished. We also found, as we were going through all of the eligibility, all of the eligible agencies who met the criteria, that their median percentage of total food budget that they spent on local products was around 15%. Okay, these are some strategies for reaching procurement goals that we found from all of those who completed the survey, that almost 81% of agencies mentioned that they were going to work with their distributor, such as Cisco or Benny Keith or US Foods, to reach the goal of purchasing at least 20% on local food. We did also have about 42% say that they're going to purchase directly from a grower or a farmer, and just under 10% that are growing produce in a garden on site. You can see that the product categories that most agencies are interested in buying are our fruits and vegetables, but we also see meat coming in pretty high, as well as grains in our state. And then we also had, what were some of the motivators for purchasing local? We can see that a lot of the motivators are because of this bill, 62.4%. And then the next one though being that it's higher quality products. Agencies have found that there's great health benefits from purchasing local. It's also helping develop and strengthen our local economy, and that some agencies have policies within their own agency encouraging them to purchase local. On the flip side, we did find that there are many barriers for purchasing local. The top two are really the lack of info of where to purchase and lack of supply in our state to meet the demand. The next highest was a lack of knowledge on how to purchase locally. And so from a lot of this, in our 2019 annual report, you can see that there were some changes that at the department that we decided to make in preparation for the 2020 report. First, we worked with UAMS to help develop a stronger and better survey that's more unique and has better questions that help get at the root problem. We reached out to our state agencies to help understand who are other eligible agencies that need to be reporting every year, how much of their procurement budget is spent on local food. We also have opened the survey for a longer amount of time. Last year it was around a month. This year there's about 2 months of time for the survey to be completed. Additionally, we have created a website landing page, the FAQ document, the eligibility infographic, hosting this webinar, and we have more support from partners on providing technical assistance. So that leads me to our 2020 report. Where we're at right now is that we had received contact lists of possible agencies from the Department of Finance and Administration, Department of Education, Department of Higher Education, and the Department of Human Services. The survey opened on August 5th, 2020. We have the website landing page that I showed. We are currently in the webinar, and the survey closes on October 1st at 11:59. Like I said, at that point, we will create the annual report that will be submitted to the governor. I'm going to pause here that we've made it through that quick overview and turn to questions. Like I said, we really want this to be a listening time, gather information from all of you. We will do our best to answer questions immediately, but if it's something that we do not know the answer to, we will work together as a department and we'll make sure to update our FAQ document. So if you have any questions, feel free to add them into the chat box or feel free to unmute yourself at this time. I'm going to stop sharing my screen as well.
Gary Gillespie. I'm in Southeast Arkansas, Monticello, and don't have any idea. Only thing that I know of down here is produce, but I don't know of any how to contact the vendors, people that produce those produce, or where I could buy it. Every now and then, seasonally, it's in Walmart. It'll say homegrown, and I'll buy that. But you know, that's generally in the summer. So what do you do about that?
Thank you, Sherry, for your question. Part of the report that we create for the governor, it lists all of the local food vendors that the agencies have listed that they've purchased from. So all of the farms that were direct from farmer to the agency, we have listed in the 2019 report. We are also in communication with all of the distributors in Arkansas. That is some of the work that the UAMS team, as well as us, are really working on to talk and work with distributors to make it easier to know what is local that you can be purchasing directly from your distributor and what isn't, because we do know that continues to be a barrier. So does that answer your question, Sherry? I'm not sure if it fully did. Emily, feel free to jump in too.
I was just going to say, Sherry, we encourage you to talk with whoever it is where that you purchase your products from, whether that's a broadline distributor or even if it's commodities. If you encourage you to have that conversation and open up that line of dialogue, even if they don't have anything local, at least they'll know that that's on your radar, and to let you know when they do have things that are available that you can purchase.
And I guess the main thing that will pretty much put me out of compliance. But if I don't know or can't find it, then, if I'm not spending a portion, all of that large portion on of my budget on Arkansas products, then what's going to happen to me?
Luckily, it is an encouragement and to meet a goal. It is not a regulation or a requirement. Okay. And so you telling us about your progress and how it's going, even if it continues to be zero and what those barriers are, help us make it easier for everyone on this call and everyone who's trying to purchase locally. Helps us figure out how to make that easier. So don't be worried. You will not be punished if you're not meeting a 20%.
Okay. Now we did have a garden last fall, but we normally have one in the spring on site, and we use some of those vegetables. But since COVID, we didn't do one this spring.
We definitely know that COVID has impacted local food purchasing. We actually have a question specifically on that in the report. We would love everyone's thoughts on really how it has impacted your local food purchasing. As you know, a garden is a great spot. Sherry, thank you for bringing that up as a space to get some food locally. So having that is really great and helpful. And I will echo what Emily said, that the requirement that you have is only to report to us at the department. So every year on an annual basis, you will need to report what either your screening questions, and you'll say, I don't meet this eligibility, or you will fill out the entire report. There is not an enforcement that comes out on if you are reaching the 20% or not. We are encouraging you to continue to move in that direction. We're asking for a policy statement signed from your director to be reaching that. We are also trying to find out ways how we can help you better reach that goal. But your only requirement is to submit the report every year.
I have a question. I noticed when I was filling the survey out, it states that you can use Cisco, local products through Cisco. It even mentioned, now I know we're talking produce and we're talking meats, but what about dairy? What if you buy your milks, things that happened right here in Arkansas? Is that not, are we not privy to put that information down as well?
You can definitely also include milk. Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Local can span the entire plate. That can be our fruits, our vegetables, our grains, our milk, even some specialty Arkansas made products like spices, coffee, nuts. Sure. As long as it's either grown in Arkansas or it's packaged and processed in Arkansas.
Right, that's what I understood. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you, Beth, for that question.
Looks like we do have some questions in the chat.
Yeah, I can read those out if you want me to.
That'd be great, Mark. Thank you.
Okay, the first one from Leanne Hampton. Is Tyson considered local?
Great question, Leanne. Tyson is a local company in Arkansas. We are currently working to get in contact and have more clarity with Tyson as to where specifically their products are being packaged and processed or grown. At this time, Tyson is considered local. We might be able to come out with some more clarity on that once we are able to get in more communication with them. As they are a very big organization, they have processing and packaging plants not just in Arkansas State. So we are looking at that traceability of the product that is coming back in for our agencies here. That is a hard question. So we are continuing to work as hard as we can on that. I hope that gives a little clarity to you.
Okay, the second question in the chat is from Sandra Snell. She asks, I'm from Northwest Arkansas Head Start. We have 7 Head Start centers. Only one of our centers sent me the email requesting that we complete this survey. Should I complete it for only that center or for our entire organization?
Yeah, great question. You are going to want to complete that for your entire organization and compile all of that information into your one report if you are purchasing for all of those spaces. From what it sounds like from the description you've given, I would say yes, it's one report.
Kathy Platt asks, if our school district has contracted with Aramark, what information do we need to ask for from them in order to receive the correct information for this report?
Yeah, Kathy, thank you for that question. We can send, and also we can upload this onto our website, a PDF document that shows all of the questions of the survey. The main things that you're going to be asking from Aramark would be, what was your total food budget? And then how much of your total food budget did you spend on local food? And then listing out where specifically you received that local food from. So you would be asking Aramark for your total food budget, if you don't already happen to know that, total spent on local food, and then where that local food was purchased from. Was it the farm name? So there's a little bit of that traceability. Emily, jump in if there's something else on the survey.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're also welcome. The survey has been designed to be saved. And so it's possible for you to fill out your agency's information and then to pass the survey, to save it, pass the survey to them, use a code to get back into it, and have them complete the questions that are more specific to purchasing and procurement, like what are your barriers and motivators? You know, you do have to know their contact information too, so they could fill that section out. And then they will be much more equipped to complete the vendor spreadsheet. So it can be a joint effort to complete the survey. You don't have to do it all on your own and get all that information from them. You're welcome to give them the information and they can input it for you about your agency. But ultimately, the survey is connected to your organization and your agency itself. So your vendor, whoever it is, or your food service management company is helping you to complete a survey that is connected to your organization.
Okay, the next question from Sonia Norris. Is local only Arkansas? Last year we were told local was what we decided it was.
Great question. So for this report, it is written that local is considered either grown in Arkansas or packaged and processed in Arkansas. So that would be, yes, anything within our state. Sonia, I do not know what agency you're at, but I am assuming here that maybe you work for like a school district or something else, where in that case, coming down from federal, like the federal level, you can make your own definition of what local is. But for the case of this survey, it's anything within the state.
Paula Bailey asks, on the vendor tracking form, if I order local Tyson products from a vendor like Cisco or Tankersley, under vendor name contact info, do I put Cisco Tankersley info or Tyson's info?
I would put your vendor as the person who's selling you the product. So that's Cisco. And then in the item description, you can write Cisco's chicken nuggets or whatever it is.
Sonia Norris asks, is milk from Highland reportable?
Yes, milk from Highland is reportable.
I have a question. It's gonna sound stupid, but since this is, when it asks for our total budget, okay? What are we talking about? The total budget for the year that we run on, or is it just our CACFP budget? There is so much to this application. We have an annual amount, we have a sponsor portion, we have total expenses, we have, of course, the part where we have to pay help to cook the products. So what annual actual budget are you looking for?
Thanks, Beth, for that question. When you're reporting this on your report, we are looking for your total food budget. Yeah, so, and then the time period of it is the fiscal year.
Sure.
So yes.
Okay, one more question from the chat from Stan Sullivan. Can you please give an example of a food service program for a community college? We do not offer a meal plan.
So if your school, your community college offers food on site, meals on site, but those are offered, if they don't offer any meals on site, if you don't have any consumption of meals kind of regularly occurring on the campus of your community college, then I would say you do not have a food service program. Sarah, correct me if you think differently. If you contract with a third party to regularly offer meals on your campus, then you do have a food service program. You don't manage it, you contract it out, and that sort of becomes like an Aramark or Chartwell's. That's your food service management company. And so you would work with them to fill out the survey. Stan, feel free if you have any follow-up questions to that. Even if it's not a food even if it's not part of a meal plan, but you make that available to your students as part of your campus and your facility, your agency or organization. And those meals happen regularly through a contract, then they would help you fill that out.
And I don't see any more questions in the chat.
What other questions have been coming up for all of you?
I did want to follow up on, I think it was Beth's point about how complicated food budgets are. And this really is about the money you spend on food. And I know sometimes that's also even hard to parse out, but I think the expectation is that 20% of the money that could go to purchase food for your food service program, the goal is to purchase that from local organizations. So it should not include your entire CACFP budget, which covers all your staff and all your paper towels and toilet paper and all that kind of stuff. It really is about that section that you spend on food.
Thanks, Emily, for that clarification.
Yeah.
Jessica Holloway asks in the chat, food purchased for education purposes as a lab are not reportable, correct?
I would say correct.
Yeah, that is not part of meals consumed and, prepared and consumed on site on a regularly occurring basis.
That's great that that's happening though. But yes.
Yeah, in the case of a culinary school, I think we are doing a little bit of work to figure out if there's anywhere in there, but I think for the purposes of education only, that does not fit the definition of a food service program. If you are purchasing a lot of food as part of your education outreach, we would love to know if any of that's being spent locally so that we can capture that and report it to the governor. So if that is something that's happening at your agency or institution, feel free to reach out to Sarah and let her know. And if you want to share that, we would love to capture it. Yes, the hospitality programs. Yeah. So it sounds like that's kind of where that falls.
This is Stan Sullivan again. I've got a follow-up question.
Yeah.
If there's if we have just like a small grill,
Mm-hmm.
There's no financial arrangement whatsoever. We receive no money. There's no money exchanged between the college and the vendor. It's not like an Aramark or somebody that's contracted with, to provide us services. Would that make a difference? Or
they just
let them use our space?
You just let them use your space.
Right, just
let us talk about it kind of internally and get back to you if that's okay.
And it's a very small local
Is
vendor.
Is it open regularly?
Just for lunch, and it's only on one of our campuses. It's not even on all 3 campuses, so it's not campus wide.
Okay. We may have to do a little bit of just interpreting of what that means by contract. So if you don't mind, we have your information, and we'll figure out some details on that and get back to you.
All right, appreciate it.
Yeah.
A couple more questions coming in from the chat. William Watkins asks, is it possible to repeat or clarify the statement made about the 20%?
Sure. So in the Act, if you qualify as an agency receiving $25,000 or more annually from the state, as well as offering a food service program, you are asked to set a procurement goal of spending 20% of your total food budget on local food. And you can spend that budget directly with Arkansas farmers on products that are Arkansas grown or packaged and processed in Arkansas. You can purchase this through your distributor or through direct from a farmer. So the 20% is your goal that you're aiming for every year, at least 20%, excuse me. And I'm hoping that that is clarifying what your question is.
Another question from the chat. Leanne Hampton asks, our agri department will be cutting and packing meat to sell to the public. If we buy meat from them, can we count that?
If I'm understanding you correctly, you're saying that your school or your somebody a part of your agency, there's a department, an agriculture department that is planning to sell meat to the public. And then can we, if we buy that meat, can we count that? Yes, you would be able to count the amount that you're purchasing as that being local. In the same way that like a school garden, you can be purchasing fruits and vegetables from that garden and count that as spending funds locally. Emily, jump in if you.
No, that's exactly right. If you're a school and your FFA group or your ag department, you know, your ag team in your high school or your college is producing, you know, beef and selling it to the public, and you as a child nutrition department or nutrition department are buying that, that absolutely 100% counts. And we commend you for that. That's a big effort, and we appreciate it.
Sonia Norris asks, is there a list of products and companies in Arkansas companies? I'm from a small area and I have trouble finding local produce vendors who I can purchase from. I've contacted my area cooperatives and haven't gotten anywhere. When COVID hit, I was starting to make some headway, but then, of course, things kind of fall apart.
Thank you, Mark, for that question. Yes, in the 2019 report, we list all of the places where agencies have purchased food. So it lists all of the farms, the direct to farmers, as well as has information on products that distributors were able to provide. So I would encourage you to check out the 2019 report to see, and I can look up the specific page, but see specifically that list. That is one of the benefits and one of the reasons why we're creating this report is to create this living and breathing list that every year is updated with information from agencies across the state of how they're getting local food and from where. There are also two other places to look for local food. You can check out the Arkansas Grown website, which lists Arkansas farmers as well as Arkansas Made, which would be like specialty products like jams and jellies. And there's also Arkansas Market Maker as another spot to find local food vendors and farmers.
Additionally, Sarah, as the Farm to School and Early Childhood Coordinator in the state, has access to a ton of resources to support you in starting up that process. So over the years, you know, we've got one-pagers that have been developed, success stories that have been developed, conversation starters with local farmers. So like, what questions do I need to ask? Who do I reach out to? And if I find them, what kinds of things do I need to make sure I know about? So consider Sarah as an excellent resource for any technical assistance you need on getting started. She can also help you track down vendors in your area. And of course, like she said, as we learn more through this report, we should be able to connect those dots, you know, over time and to make it easier for all of you to continue progressing towards this goal.
Any other questions? These have been great ones that have come in so far. Feel free to add them to the chat or unmute yourself. As I don't see any coming right now, I am going to open a poll that just helps us know a little bit more about where you're coming from, how you heard about this, and if this information has been helpful. So I'm going to open that right now. Feel free to stay on the line till 3. We will be here ready to answer more questions that you might have. Or if your questions have been answered after you filled the poll out, we thank you for your time. Thank you, for bringing your questions. So I'm going to open this poll. It should pop up right in front of your screen. If you don't happen to see it right away, check the bottom of your Zoom where you can mute and stop your video. You'll see a poll button and you can click on it. So I'm going to launch it right now. And You can also put in the chat box directly to me or Mark if you don't happen to see the poll, and we can send you those specific questions.
William asks, will the information be made available after the call?
Yes, William, we are recording this session. We will share the recording out to everyone who has registered, as well as we will put a recording link on our website, so you can find that there. Lee, yes, this is recorded. We will send it out to everyone who has registered, as well as put it on our website.
Someone asked in the chat, they don't have a name, just a phone, Galaxy A11. Do we have to fill this out? I had to walk away. And then Angie asked, can we get a copy of the PowerPoint?
Yeah, Galaxy A11. The poll that I just put up on Zoom, you do not have to fill that out. As for the larger Local Food Farms and Jobs Act report, yes. And that gets into a larger question of how much of the report you're filling out, if it's just the first 2 screening questions or if it's the full report. If you can give us a little more information about what you're asking for, do we have to fill this out? That would help me answer your question. And then from, yeah, Angie, yes, I will send out an email to everyone who's registered with the recording link, and we'll include the PowerPoint. Thank you for asking about that.
And William Watkins asks, will the deck be made available for reference? Also, the resources that you speak of, can a list of vendors/providers be made available?
Yeah, we will send out the slideshow, and I will look up what specific page number in the 2019 report lists the farmers that were reported last year. And I'll include the information that we shared about Arkansas Grown and Arkansas Made and Arkansas Market Maker of places to find vendors. Hey, Jennifer. So the report, yes, you do need to fill out the reports. There are different levels of the report. If you are an agency who receives less than $25,000 or maybe doesn't have a food service program, you will very quickly just insert your agency information and you will click no to one of those questions and the report will be finished. That takes like a minute or 2. If you receive at least $25,000 from the state for your services, your programs, your staff, your operations, and you offer a food service program, you will complete the full complete survey where you will include information about your total food budget and then how much was spent locally. If you let us know a little bit more about yourself, we can get a little more clarity there for you. But regardless, you will fill out the report. It just depends on if you're filling out a 1-minute section and you're done, or the full report. If you are fully eligible based on the $25,000 and the food service program. All right, I'm thinking no one else has any questions or comments. If you do, you can always email lffjahelp@arkansas.gov. Shane, I saw you just unmute. Do you want to say something?
I'm just apologizing. I've been on the phone the whole time. It's been one of those days.
No
Did
problem.
anybody, let me ask this. I'm filling out for all of my institutions who will do it. So I've got them working on with their vendors, getting their local. I know just because we shut down, our number is not going to be good at all because, I mean, we were closed, what, 4 or 5 months. So I just assume, and I haven't spoken to Representative Beck about that, but just to let him know that numbers are probably going to be way down just because we weren't open. But I think it's looking at it, I played around with it the other day. I think it is going to be easier to upload. I mean, last year I was having to hand calculate line by line and put in which one was local, calculate it, go to the next line, try to find the next one. And I think being able to upload the document, if I understood it right, I think it's going to make it a lot easier. So I appreciate that.
Thanks for your feedback, Shane. We definitely know coronavirus has impacted this for you as well as other agencies. We did add that specific question about it on the survey, which will help us also report that back to Representative Beck and the governor and the other legislative councils, because we know numbers are going to be different for people.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate all of your help on this.
Thank you too, Shane. Any other final questions, everyone? Okay, I will end in saying if you have more, please email lffjahelp@arkansas.gov. We will be happy and excited to help you on that. We appreciate all of you for joining today. And I'm going to close out the meeting at that note. Thanks, everyone.